All right, so we discussed it last week. The NBA season is coming back. We love to see it. Excited about it. And obviously, we talked last week about teams that we thought would have the biggest advantage going forward and coming off this whole quarantine and everything like that. But now looking at it, the odds, the Lakers are 5-2. They have the highest odds to win the NBA championship. The Bucks and the Clippers are coming up right after that. They're 3-1. And then right after that, it's a pretty big drop off. The Rockets and Celtics, 16-1. Then you got the Raptors and 76ers, 20-1. And then the Nuggets, and then the Mavericks, Heat, Nets, and that's 40-1. So they're pretty far off. But if you could envision a sleeper team, somebody who could come in, make a little bit of noise, maybe disrupt kind of the flow of things. Who knows? The Clippers of last year, where they did make the Warriors go 7, I believe. Was it 7 they made them go last year?
I think it was 6.
Was it 6? It was 6.
Yeah.
They made the Warriors go 6, but you just didn't expect them to even hang in for that long. So, is there a team like that this year? I don't know if you're looking at a team maybe could make a little run. Who knows?
No, for sure. Now, not like the Clippers, because they were better than that team, but I have the Boston Celtics, and it's not as much of to me it's a sleeper because they're in the East and they're not getting as much love as obviously the Milwaukee Bucks, which is well respected. But I think what Boston has, they have the wings. It's a wings. They have those guys that can play offense, can play defense. Jason Tatum is a bad dude. We saw what he did in that little 10-game span before, the pandemic and the pause on the season. Well, Jaylen Brown is averaging you 20. Kemba Walker is giving you 20. Gordon Hayward's giving you 18. Marcus Smart's playing defense, and he's the heart of the team. He's that linebacker. He does all the little things. The only downside is they don't have much size, but you got Enes Kanter coming off the bench. They have so many guys who can just get you a bucket, all at 6'7" and above, besides Kemba Walker, of course. So they have those wings, that it's a wings game. They have those guys they can throw, say, at Giannis. They're not going to stop Giannis, but they can throw at him. They can make it a little more difficult. They can even kind of like what Toronto did last year, schematically run, like a little zone, because they had the length to also protect the paint. So I just think a team like Boston, to me, man, when you got all those scores and they got the height on them and they got the wingspan, they can just make it real difficult for teams. And Jason Tatum, man, I'm telling you, this dude, I like this dude. He's coming fast.
Yeah, Jason Tatum's that next guy in the NBA. I think we look at like Luka Doncic and kind of Jason Tatum, and I think we kind of put them together. I think they're both ahead, obviously, of these other guys we look at like Zion and stuff. Obviously, they have more to prove. But yeah, no, Jason Tatum and that rookie moment he had in the playoffs when the Celtics were playing the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he just had that dunk on Braun and just kind of stared him down. That's when you knew he kind of found himself. I do agree. The Celtics are. Well, I don't agree necessarily that they're a team to kind of watch out for. I do think they're a good team. They're very the talent's dispersed. It's all over the place. You see it, like you mentioned. You got multiple players giving you 20. I think they fit very well. They mesh very well, and it's different than when they had Kyrie, because Kyrie is that guy who can get you those buckets, but it's not like this team, this cohesive effort. They don't fit together in the same way. With the team they have now, I think that's where Kyrie makes Kemba makes such a big difference. He's able to fit them well, and they're able to have success in that way. But the team I'm kind of looking at, man, and I know they haven't had as much success on the road, and I'm going to stay in the East, is Miami. I love Miami. I love the tenacity they play with, and I love Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler is that guy who, how as fierce as he is, man, and he's had the experience. Now, he's never been the guy that's brought his team over the top, but I would kind of blame that on just LeBron being in the East and him not having as much talent with his teams as we would want him to have. Obviously, him in Chicago those years, and then the past couple of years, he's just been kind of shuffling around. But I think they finally have it this year. Obviously, that Miami culture, you've mentioned it in the past. When you go to Miami, it ain't no joke. It ain't no cakewalk. They're going to get you right. And if Miami needs that guy, when LeBron went to Miami, Dwayne Wade was that like bona fide, he was the Miami Heat. So then LeBron came there and kind of get used to the culture, everything there. And then when LeBron flipped that mindset, then it was a different animal. Jimmy Butler's always had that mindset. It was just a matter of putting him in within an organization that could make him grow and blossom even more. So you have this young team around him. Bam Adebayo, I absolutely love. We've talked about him in the past as well. and he's a great player. He's young, energetic. I saw a stat yesterday that said he's going to be the first Heat player in history to average 10 boards and 5 rebounds, or 10 boards and 5 assists in a season. So he's a very dynamic player. We talk about him just being this guy who just is a freak on the boards, good defensively, very good defensively. But obviously he's much more than that with that stat alone. And you're supplying Jimmy Butler with all this young talent around him. I love Tyler Hero. It's just all around what they have. But I think what makes them different than many of these other teams who have young talent is they have that centerpiece in Jimmy Butler. And they haven't had that since really LeBron. Like I said, Dwayne Wade was that guy before LeBron came. LeBron when LeBron took over as that leader of that guy of that team, then they started winning. They won 2 there. But they finally have it again in Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, and they have this young core around him. They have the culture there. Eric Spoelstra is an amazing coach. Nobody's disputing that. What Pat Riley can do there is nobody's disputing that. So I look at Miami, and I think if they can figure out they figure out their road inconsistencies, because they're not playing the same way at home. But at home, they've only lost 5 games all season, I believe.
The road won't even matter because everybody's going to be in the same spot, so there will be no road games or home.
There you go. I didn't even think about that. So how are they going to play in a neutral spot? How are they going to play in a neutral spot? If you want to think about it from the point they were playing in Disney World, so they are
on the road
closer to Miami than they are to LA. Whatever. So if you want to think about it that way, maybe maybe that is a home court advantage for them. Obviously, it's different. They're not playing it at the American Airlines Arena, but if you think about it that way, but if they can be as successful in a neutral playing field or in court as they were playing at home, then I think they could really make something happen. Especially because I look at Philadelphia and I just look right past them because the Philadelphia is not a threat at all to me. And I want to look.
They're really good at home too. Philly's really good at home too.
But I just don't. They don't have that guy. Like they don't have that guy who's been through this, who can carry. Who's your guy? Is it Jimmy? I mean, is it Joel Embiid? Is it Ben Simmons? Like they don't have that guy. The Miami Heat have that guy, and I just think that's what brings them over the top.
For Miami, I mean, you can have that guy, but that guy is just a guy. Like Jimmy Butler is a good player, and
I don't know if he's just a guy. I think he's bigger than that. I think he's better than that.
Jimmy Butler. I mean, he brings this culture and he brings this attitude with them, but I don't think he brings the necessarily the elevation out of players because it's not really what his job is to do. He's not that type of skill set. Good player will get you a bucket, play hard-nosed defense, grit and grind. But the thing is, you said they have a good collective young talent. I love Bam Adebayo. I love some of their young talent, but it's young talent. When you get to the playoffs, that's what's scary. You want kind of that veteran team that's been there, done that, and really
but that's what Jimmy Butler I think gives them because when you're led by a guy like that, if you're not led by a guy like that, let's look at like the Thunder when they were young, when they had young Rush, young KD, young James Harden, then you kind of get blinded. So it's a lot of flash. But Jimmy Butler, like I said, he hasn't been to the finals. He hasn't. Necessarily taking more time, but he's been in that position to where it's like he's been under the bright lights and he's had to perform where he's the sole star of that team and he's been great. So he understands what it's like to grind and get in that position.
I mean, he's sure, but like he's always kind of had some players around him. I guess he had the tail end of Derrick Rose was hurt when he was in Chicago, but But with Jimmy Butler, there's a difference between you can follow his lead as a young guy, but Jimmy Butler's just only one guy. What happens when they play up against a team that's got 3 guys who have been there, done that? It's a little different. He might be outnumbered because his young guys haven't been there, done that. I love Bam Adebayo. I really do. But other than that, I don't know who – not even Bam Adebayo because he's not creating his own shot. They don't really have a guy who can go get his own bucket. And Jimmy Butler's not necessarily that guy who's getting his own bucket. He's a free-flowing guy. He plays from the post a little bit. He really just plays from the flow of the offense. He doesn't need it. There's games where Jimmy Butler will only shoot 9 times. So they don't really have that guy, to me, who is going to create. And when they like to play those 93 to 96 type of games, them 97 to 99s, which all good. But I need someone else on that team. That's kind of where I am with Milwaukee and why I love Boston so much. They have those guys who could play defense, but they also have several guys. I can go ask Jason Tatum to give me a bucket. Oh, you don't want him to get one? I'll ask Kemba Walker. I'll go ask Jaylen Brown. You know what I mean? So with Miami, I like it. Jimmy Butler's a good player. I don't have him high on my list at all, just because I don't think he's that guy who can carry by his skill set. He can get you the regular season. He can get you behind his back because his attitude and his grit. But I just think when you face more skilled players, that I think that they're going to be in trouble, because I don't think they have enough skilled talent on that team, offensively especially.
Yeah, if you take that talent away from, say, you're able to shut them down, then I agree. Then I agree. Like, you don't have the 20 from multiple different players, like you said, when you're looking at Boston.
And Jimmy Butler's only that 18 point per game guy, 19, 20. He's not the guy that's ever going to get you 28, 27. So they need those other guys
up to that level if you need him to. But
we haven't seen that.
I mean, we've seen it. Like I said, he's never been in a culture like he is now that he is with Miami. Like, when you think about these other teams, the Lakers and LeBron, they're in a winning culture, and they have a lot more talent around them. So this is straight from the perspective of who can I see rumbling a little bit, kind of like the Clippers last year, maybe a little bit more, because they're not competing necessarily with the Lakers or the Clippers, but just that dog mentality that Jimmy Butler has. He has that talent, but if you are able to take that talent away from him, then it's a matter of, all right, what are these young guys going to do? Then I'm with you. I don't know. But that's what it comes down to. The Celtics are more they do have more talent, more evenly dispersed, obviously.
I will give you this. I think, and we've seen in the regular season, I think Miami they're a really good matchup for the Bucks, because you throw Bam Adebayo on Giannis.
Yeah.
Bam is mobile. He's 6'9", 250, and he can move. He doesn't move like a fat old center. This guy can play. He can jump. He can run. And they did that, and Giannis was like very bad. Like, he was terrible that game. So go ahead.
I think the East is really up in the air as far as who's coming out. I don't think it's like the Bucks are right there with the Clippers as the second best odds to win the NBA title, and I think they're too high. Yeah, like you said, Giannis has to prove something to me still, and like, he has to prove that he can be that guy. And like you said, he was shut down by like Al Horford last year. Not necessarily shut down, but he was slowed down a lot by Al Horford last year, and Bam Adebayo can be that guy as well. Right. So, that's up in the air. So I do think if one of these teams can make something happen and can rumble a little bit in the East, that it's a little bit more in question.
Exactly, and that's why I like Boston so much, because I think Jason Tatum, if we need someone to take over, Jason Tatum can do it. Kemba Walker, he had 40 against Milwaukee early already this year. That's just my thing with Miami. I think they could upset Milwaukee. I really do. They think they could. But thing is, because they don't need to score 120, I think they will grit and grind. They'll be smart, and it'll be a real hard defensive game, because Bucks don't have a bunch of ISO players either. It's just with the Heat, I don't look at Jimmy Butler as a guy who's going to just go drop, give me 27. I think he needs a couple other guys there with him, and that's just my only issue with him. I think Jimmy Butler's he's a good player, but I don't think by any means as a number one player that's going to get you over the hump against a great team.
Who do you have coming out the East then?
I got Boston. I've been having Boston.
You got Boston straight up coming out the East. So you got Boston. Not only do you see them as kind of a dark horse, but a team that that's coming out the East and is going to compete.
You don't like this team. You don't like Philly, but they do play Philly first round. And regardless of Philly's struggles, they still got talent. So it is always that scary thing to think like, oh, what if this team does put it together, right? So they would have to face Philly. I would have them beat in Philly, but that'd be a really good first round for them to go against, to get ready against like a Milwaukee or something like that. But I got Boston, man. That's my team that I think is going to come out the East. Not that I root for them, but.